4.5 years ago, behind this gate, my life changed forever. And today I'm going to tell you that story. But I also want you to know, if you are new here, my channel is all about life after miscarriage, infertility, and today I'm sharing something that maybe most of you don't know, and that is that I live with post-concussion syndrome. And it actually started as a result of a brain injury that happened on this very playground. And I'm going to tell you how I believe my third miscarriage is actually connected to that story. So if you are here for my typical miscarriage infertility talks, don't tune this out, and definitely stay all the way to the end, because I have something, a challenge that I'm going to pose for all of you, a way that you can get involved and help change the course of how brain injuries are treated from here on out. So stick around and let's get started on this video.
Sometimes life's biggest storms give you the most beautiful rainbows. We are chasing rainbows.
I have Jason here with me from Moral Support. We're gonna go in. I'm opening the gate. So this might look like a typical playground to you, and it is. It's a school playground, in fact, and I used to work here. I was a special needs aide. I absolutely loved my job. I loved the kiddos that I worked with. I still do. I still get to talk to some of them, thankfully. And I thought I knew exactly where my life was headed. In fact, I was even thinking about going back to school to become a teacher and pursuing something like totally different than where I am at now in life. And the reason why this playground is so significant is because as soon as I got my brain injury, my life essentially stopped. I was no longer the same person. I had to relearn how to do everything. It was like starting from complete scratch. All because of this piece of play equipment. This piece of play equipment used to have a metal red roof on it. That metal red roof is where I hit my head. Now, to actually paint the picture of this story, Jason, I need your help. I need you to go stand where child A was. So I had two kids that I was watching that day on the playground anyways. And one child, we'll call her child A, and the other one was child B, who was standing probably on the top right about there. Now, child A, she had very much aggression issues that would come on over random things. And one of them would be if a kid tried to challenge her in any way. Now, child B was very attached to me. She only wanted to play with just me. She didn't really want anyone else involved. And child A was wanting to play with me. And I saw her child B look at child A, and I knew exactly what was about to happen because she's done this in the past. She was going to charge her and push her off. So seeing it go in slow motion, I took off running up these stairs and hit my head on that roof because I did not duck low enough. And this is actually the first time that I've seen that they now switched it to a plastic roof. I found out somebody else also got hurt on this roof after I left, but that's irrelevant. Anyways, I hit my head, and that feeling that they describe of like seeing stars immediately happened. Like, I didn't pass out, but I blacked out. Like, I couldn't see anything, so I just immediately sat down, and then I laid down on the yellow part, and as soon as everything started to become clear again and like the light came back in, I saw child B leaning over me and her exact words were, "Are you okay, buddy?" No, your buddy's not okay. Except I actually thought I was. I was in total denial because my life from that moment on, it was never the same. I'm going to hit pause right here at this point in the story because I'm going to tell you how I believe the connection with my miscarriage actually relates to how this happened. So That very day, the day that I had my injury, was a month to the date that I lost my third baby, Paisley Grace. And I can remember this day vividly. I don't know why this day was harder than all the others, and maybe it's because weeks had gone by that I'd been back at work, and so now the reality of her being gone and having to just pretend like I was fine was really hitting me. And I had a hard time getting out of bed. I couldn't stop crying on the drive here, and I could barely get myself out of the car. And I remember when I was alone in the classroom, I'm cleaning tables, I remember praying out loud, because no one was around, that I said the words, "God, I can't do this one more day. Get me out of here." I just knew I couldn't fake a smile any longer, and tears just felt like they were going to start pouring down. And God heard my prayer, and He answered it within 2 hours. It was 2 hours later that I had my brain injury, right there on what was the red metal roof. That is not how I thought God was going to answer my prayer. And I think it's funny because He doesn't always answer them in the way we think, or the way that we want, maybe. But He did answer the prayer. My life essentially stopped. Having a brain injury is like your life completely stops. And my life did. It changed completely. I went from being active, working as the special needs aide, being active socially. Everything stopped. I couldn't leave my house. The light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, I was dizzy, nauseous, balance issues, you name it. I was not the same person. Not to mention cognitively, I just couldn't even carry on a conversation with somebody else. It was something like I've never experienced before. But I am grateful for having this head injury for many reasons. One of them being I never would have started this channel if I didn't have that head injury, because I wouldn't have been at home. I wouldn't have had the time. And if I had been able to talk to other people and carry on a conversation, I wouldn't have picked up my camera to try to have that outlet to talk about the grief that I went through. And I also wouldn't have started my family's channel, Rising Up. And the reason I created that to begin with was because I couldn't remember anything I would do with my family. So I thought it would be fun to pick up the camera, record adventures together, and then I could watch them back. And I didn't realize that it was going to teach me or help me retrain my brain in a way, just pushing me to learn or relearn activities like learning how to drive all over again. My daughter Jayla and I ended up driving across the country from Ohio to California and back, all on my own, essentially, since she couldn't drive. And I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. So I am grateful. It took me a long time to be able to actually say that. So if you are experiencing some type of head injury and you feel like your life is never going to be the same, you're right, it's probably not. But maybe it's going to be better in other ways. I will say this, that even though the brain injury gave me the time to start these YouTube channels, it definitely didn't make it any easier on me. I struggle with remembering what I'm going to say, finding the right words when I'm filming, but I also have to teach myself how to relearn how to edit every single time and how to post a video, which can be very frustrating. But I'm happy to do it. I'm glad to do it. I enjoyed the process of doing it, even though it takes me longer than most. So if you could show me some love, give this video a thumbs up. Not only will it give me encouragement, but it'll tell YouTube to share this with other people who need to hear this story. And I know if you're feeling like how I was, I felt all alone when I first was going through this. I just didn't feel like there was anyone I could relate to on YouTube. I only heard stories from doctors and other things like that. So definitely tell me down in the comments too if you've been through this yourself or something like this. Share your story. It's important. Anyways, back to this story. So I hit my head here. I thought I was totally fine. I was in denial. I told my coworkers I was fine, I'm gonna stay the day, no big deal. Yes, my head hurt like no other, but I was just going to tough it out and make it through. But thankfully, one of the aides I worked with saw me hit my head, and she witnessed what I was like before and after. And just a few minutes after I hit my head, I began slurring my speech, just talking complete gibberish, and I was also walking like a drunk. I had absolutely no stability. I was falling all over the place. So she convinced me that I either needed to go to a doctor or go home, and she ended up driving me home, thankfully. And I did not want to go to the doctor because I've had concussions before. This was like my 4th or 5th. So in my mind, I thought there's nothing that they could do to treat a concussion. That is untrue. We'll get back to that. But I chose not to go to the doctor that day. But the next day I woke up and I was feeling 10 times worse. And I just thought, well, I can't go back to work today, so I'm gonna have to get a note. So I'll go to the doctor. I went only for the purpose of getting a note. And I thought, I'll probably be out a couple more days, maybe a week, something like that, and then I'll be able to go back. I had no idea that that was going to be the last day I would work here, but also anywhere for years. So the doctor did confirm what I already knew, and that's I had a concussion. And to them, they weren't very alarmed, because hitting your head on a roof like that sounds like a minor thing, right? And so they told me it's probably going to be gone within a week, 2 weeks tops. And any concern of it lasting longer, they thought maybe a month max. But of course, they can't guarantee anything, right? So they sent me home, told me to rest, wait it out. I would come back for checkups, and they would just continue writing me notes to be off work in the meantime. I never came back to work after that. I wasn't sure I was ever going to be able to work again after that. My life changed that much over hitting my head on a simple piece of play equipment. I tell you that to point out 2 things that are really key in my story that I want you to be aware of if this ever happens to you, or you know someone else that it does happen to. Is that 1, what seems like a minor hit to the head, there is no such thing. If you hit your head and you have a concussion, it needs to be taken seriously from day 1. The second thing to note is that you don't want to go home and sit and rest in the dark for more than 1 to 2 days. I was left to sit in the dark for more than 2 years. More than a year before therapy was even really brought up, which is just crazy. Because now that I know the treatments out there that do exist for concussion, vestibular therapy, speech therapy, how to retrain your eyes, they could be working together, they could be moving while you're sleeping or when you close your eyes, which is probably why I was having balance issues. And when they did get me into therapy, it's probably why it wasn't working, because they hadn't looked at everything as a whole altogether. I don't think I mentioned this at the beginning of this video, but March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. And there is an act that they are trying to reinstate called the TBI Act. And it is so important that this passes for so many reasons. But this is where I am challenging you to get involved and step up and do something. There is a link I'm going to put down in the description that if you click that link and you go to the website, there is a letter template that you can send to your congressman or woman and let them know that this act needs to be reinstated and why. So one of the reasons is it provides funding and access to resources in each state for people with brain injuries. And without that, people don't have access to help. People go left untreated. The other thing that it's doing is taking it and changing what doctors know to be a one-time incident and seeing it as a chronic condition, which is what it is. Because I hit my head once, yes, but I have had chronic ongoing problems ever since. And that is something that needs to be changed. And I am hoping that by sharing my story, that what is or what looks invisible will suddenly start to become visible to other people, to people that have concussions, to people that have never had a brain injury before, and to doctors and how they treat them, because I felt like the whole time that I was going through doctor's appointments, that it was my word against everyone else, that if they couldn't see it, it wasn't real. And so some people made me feel crazier than others, like it was all in my head, and it was all in my head. My very broken brain left to try to function. God gave me an analogy that I think paints a really clear picture of what having a brain injury is actually like. And if you think or you see somebody that has a broken leg, and maybe they're riding around in a wheelchair, they just had surgery, they're in a cast, you would never ask that person to get up, help you carry groceries, go run a race, anything like that. You would know there was something wrong with them. The difference between having the broken leg in this analogy and having the broken brain in this case is nobody can see it. So they're asking you to do things that you know you shouldn't or can't do. It is like asking someone to run a marathon on a broken foot when you ask them to go back to work, when you ask them to maybe go for a walk out on a bright sunny day, or you ask them to solve a math equation, maybe even as simple as 1 + 3. I don't know. I had trouble even counting past 3. Mainly because my memory was so bad that within 3 seconds, I would just restart over again because I couldn't remember where I was at.
Hi, I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Lucy.
I will say another thing to think of is often it'll seem like somebody's fine sometimes if they're doing something that's normal, repetitive, or easy, something brainless that they don't have to even think about. I think my family sometimes even forgets that I live with this and that I still struggle with this, because when I get into a routine, it becomes like clockwork. I don't think about it. But when I get a new task and I do have to think, that's when the struggle starts to become more apparent. Learning something new or trying to start any new task just completely, it's like making me fall down, and I just can't get back up. So I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So if you just click the link in the description, go copy the letter. The only thing that you need to add in there is why you think it's important for it to be reinstated. And it could simply be using me as an excuse. Maybe you didn't know anyone to tell until today, but now you do. I'm starting to get tired. I'm stumbling over my words. So yeah, symptom, can't talk. Symptom of my brain injury. Okay, I'm gonna make another video on another day that talks more about the symptoms and maybe what it's like to live with a brain injury, but I wanted to get this one out there now since they are trying to pass this bill. So if you could help out and click that link, send that letter off, quick, easy, and then also hit subscribe and hit the bell and stick around for future videos. And until next time, I look forward to chasing more rainbows with you. Bye-bye for now.